Welcome inside the WB Mason Coaches Report. Ryan Mayer here with Hofstra Pride volleyball coach Kristina Hernandez. Coach, you start off last week, you go down to Seton Hall in New Jersey, a team that you beat here at the Physical Education Building last season. You end up coming away with a loss. What did you see from your team in that match that just wasn't able to allow them to get over the hump?
I think we were just really sloppy that day and pretty undisciplined, and we watched film with them on it. We just, we weren't transitioning very well in the middle and the right side, so it kind of trapped our outsides. Their middles were cheating to the outside, so when we'd shoot the ball, they had a really tough double block. So, we just didn't do that very well, which made it a little difficult for us to do anything on first ball side out. And defensively, I think it was just sloppy. We didn't make adjustments very quickly that we needed to make on their outside and their right side. So I just don't think that helped us to be successful.
And Coach, no rest for the weary. You guys immediately turn back around and head out to California to participate in the Aggie Invitational out at UC Davis. First team you play, the UC Davis Aggies, you end up taking a set from them, but just not able to finish off some runs at the end of that match. Did there seem to be a little bit of low confidence from your team, considering that you had just come off a loss earlier in the week, or what did you see out there?
No, we actually played that game really well. Davis is a very good team. They just got votes for the top 25, so they're a very strong team, and we played them really tough. The second set was pretty, sloppy, but the third and fourth sets we were going back point for point, and we came back from being, I think, 4 or 5, 6 down. It just came down to 2 points towards the end of the match, and they're a really good team because they don't make a lot of errors at all, offensively or on serve receive or on serving. So that's just the way it goes. But I think we played really aggressively, and I saw some good numbers from Taylor and Nikki and Kelsey, and our defense was really good. And even though we didn't win, we played really well and at a really high level, and they were able to compete with a team that is getting votes for top 25, which is something that was nice to see. So it's kind of one of those games that even though we got a loss, we took a lot from it, and I think it really got their confidence back.
And you speak about Nikki Kinnear, she had another great match coming up in the next match. You guys played the next day against Seattle University, and you also played Air Force later in the afternoon. What did you see from her in this Seattle match that just allowed her to continuously put the ball to the floor?
I think she's just consistent. I think what teams are trying to do to her now is just serve to her a lot on serve receive to try to slow her down on the offense. And she gets a little shaky sometimes, but she responds well because she still puts up the same numbers, and that makes her a very good outside. So I think she's embracing that role a lot, and it helps us be successful. And she still scores some big points towards the end of matches, and but I think she's had maybe one bad game, in our 15 games so far. But we've been pretty happy with what she's been doing, and we're just trying to get her, some bigger numbers now, actually.
Now, with a lot of teams passing at her, have you seen that improvement in her work ethic to try and make sure that her passing is on par to give her the opportunity to go up and get those kills and still put up the same numbers?
Yeah, it's something that we constantly work at during practice, is her, passing and swinging, because everybody's going to try and slow her down, especially on serve receive when she's in the front row. So, she expects it, something that we know, and we tell her beforehand, if we were playing her, we would do the same thing to her, try and slow her down. So, we want her to see her more of as a challenge, to kind of do, and not really as somebody just picking on her. So I think she's changed her point of view with that a little bit more, and people are putting pressure on her because she's our best outside right now, and she's producing a lot of numbers. So I think it's a good thing. She's going to keep seeing that all throughout the season. So her passing is very consistent. Seattle, it was a little back and forth, but she comes back, and after making an error, she'll come back and score the next point. So I think that's something that she's definitely grown into in the past year.
Now, Coach, let's move on to the last match of the weekend. Air Force Academy, a team that you guys probably should have beaten, and you end up going out and do beat. What did you see from your team in just in terms of being able to put an opponent like that away and do it in convincing fashion?
The first set was actually really sloppy. I think they went in there a little lax, and it was just sloppy. They were tipping on us a lot, and we just weren't going for the ball. So The second set they really picked it up, and they were just very aggressive, and they just went after it. And so that was nice to see, when you're playing teams that really kind of are just a little more scrappier and give you things that you're not used to seeing all the time. So, I was proud of them for finishing in the 3. We definitely stayed aggressive in those last, the second and third sets, and Anissa really picked it up. She got in there towards the end. I think the first set she was hitting in the negatives, and the second and third set I think she ended with maybe 7 or 8 kills or something. And she really picked it up in those last sets, and that's a good thing to see. That your team doesn't get comfortable, even though maybe the sets aren't as challenging. That they still go out there and they're putting pressure on themselves to do their job. So I'm happy with the way that they finished in 3.
Now, Coach, in that match, I think it was 5 players that had at least 7 kills, led by Nikki Canary and Kelsey Wills with 8 apiece. How good is it to see that consistency from the entire team and be able to just not have one player who's putting the ball down all the time? You have a variety of different options out there.
It's really good. That's what we keep telling them, that's what we need to do to be a great team and be really successful. And when we have to rely on 1 or 2 people, it just makes it difficult to win big games. So we had some difficulty back in Missouri State with that. We only had our outsides producing, and I think this weekend we evened it out a little bit more. Taylor had a good game against Davis, and I think against Seattle too. And then Erica had a good game as well in there, and Anissa did a good job. And then Air Force, they all kind of balanced it out. So, I think they're kind of getting back to the things that we need to be doing, and it's good to see right before conference.
Now, Coach, one thing that we spoke about in last week's coach's report was the service errors that you guys were having. Did you see that cleaned up at all out at UC Davis in this 3-game tournament?
The Davis game, it was really good. We only had 5 serving errors, and I think it all came in the second set, which was good. And then Seattle, I think we got a little sloppy. I think the good thing is we're seeing it only be sloppy for maybe a set or so, and then they really pick it up, which is good. And, again, it's going to be the key to us being really successful against better teams. And so I think they've been doing a better job of that. In Air Force, Erica had a lot of aces, and I believe Kylie did too. And so they're really getting in there, and they're serving aggressively. So that's good, and I think it's something that we need to keep doing.
Now, Coach, looking forward to this week coming up. You get a little bit more rest. You don't have another tournament coming up this weekend. You just have NJIT this week, and then the start of conference play with Northeastern. First, let's start off with the NJIT match. It's a team that, again, you also saw last year. You end up getting a victory against them last year. What have you seen from them at all, looking at the tape of them this year, that may be a little bit different coming into this year's match?
They've got a pretty good right side. She's definitely one of their stronger players offensively, but it's actually good for us. Northeastern has a really good right side, so I'm happy that we're able to play somebody who's got a good outside before we, play Northeastern. So it'll give us some challenges before we get into that match against Northeastern. So I think that's a little bit different. They run their middles a little bit more than they did last year. They've definitely gotten a little bit better than last year. So we need to really focus on what we're doing and stay clean and really make sure that we're doing what we need to do and execute before we get to Saturday.
Now, Saturday, Northeastern, opening of conference play. Obviously, last year the team struggled a little bit in conference play, but this year, brand new slate. What are you telling your players going into CAA play, seeing that it is such a tough conference?
I think we've got to take it one game at a time with them, and they know that every team is tough. They know that anything can kind of fall any way in conference. But we only want to focus on one game at a time and kind of go from there and not be overwhelmed with the entire scenario. But I think they're excited to get in there. They're excited to compete, and they're excited to kind of show everybody what they've been doing and what they're capable of. I think a lot of people, are just assuming what we're going to be like from last year. So they really want to make a statement for what they're doing, and a lot of them don't really know about the conference. There's a lot of new players, so. They're excited to kind of get to this rivalry thing, especially Northeastern. It's always a really good match, and there's a lot of, rival there. And so, I think they're ready to go, and I think it's going to be an exciting match.
Now, with a lot of players that don't necessarily know the conference, do you think that's a little bit of an advantage to you because they don't know the history of conference play, and they don't really know some of the play that has been going on the past couple of years.
Definitely, it's one. I think Sonia was like, I have no idea what happened last year at one point, which is good, because they don't walk in there and they don't have anything kind of hanging over them from last year, which is nice. And so I think it's going to be a different thing because we're going out there with a fresh outlook and genuine outlook, and not something that was hanging over our heads from last year. And so I think it's a good thing, but I think that our returners definitely can put in there the importance of needing to win every match and kind of how crucial conference is. So it kind of goes both ways, but it's a nice mix.
All right, Coach, one final question for you. What does your team have to do to go out there and get their first CAA victory this Saturday against Northeastern?
We've got to do what we did really well this weekend on getting back to where we need to be confidence level and just be really aggressive what we're doing offensively and in serving. And I think that's going to be really the key for us, is just to kind of go out there and attack it and not be really timid with what we're doing. And they did a good job with that this weekend after kind of having a disappointing, weekend before. So, if we keep doing that and we work on a few things during this week and make some adjustments for what we're going to see, then I think we'll be ready to go.
All right, Coach, thank you for joining me inside the WV Mason Coaches Report.
Thank you.